everybody, and welcome back to the Dog Classroom Podcast. This is episode 5, and we are going to talk about embarrassing things that your dogs do. So we asked for some feedback from our Instagram followers, and we're going to address a few of the things that you guys sent in to us. So we're going to jump right in, and we are going to start with probably the most popular one that we got, which was what I call it inappropriate elimination. So peeing and pooping when they shouldn't be. So I'm going to let Anne-Marie take the first one and talk about urine marking and peeing on things.
So a lot of times, again, not to get the techie in me out, but a lot of times it is because if they aren't spayed or neutered, because there's more hormones there that they want to mark. Hormones there that they want to mark. But I think the other thing too is if we allow them to sort of pee on every single bush while we're walking by, I would say it's usually more males than females necessarily, but some females will mark as well. The tricky thing is if we give them other things to do on walks, then we're not stopping and peeing on every single bush. The other thing is obviously where one dog pees, the other dog has to pee. So I think there is some management part to it as well. Definitely spay and neutering does help for sure. And as far as if there's any type of marking in the house. Mm-hmm. And because we come across it a little bit in the training space with the gates.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything sort of vertical. At that point, I think a lot of times the warning is the sniffing part. If they really start sniffing something, then circling. Yeah. We just want to sort of move them along.
The other thing that I think a few people said was like, oh, it's embarrassing. People come over and they'll like pee on the couch or, I'll go out and then they'll pee on my bed or they'll poop on my bed. And I think some of that comes from stress, right? So it's the dog's way of saying, I'm stressed about this situation. And, for whatever reason, they're expressing it that way.
Yeah. And I honestly think marking is way different than elimination due to stress. Because when we look at separation anxiety, a lot of times the pooping or peeing is like at the door or the door where the owner's left. And I think that is a different ball game. The other thing, you will get marking like up the bed and stuff if you have a multi-dog household, because some of them are actually, sort of saying this is my owner's bed. But I would say when we get into anxiety, that's a little bit different because some dogs, especially I find in pooping, I don't know if you found with classes, we joke a little bit about when a few dogs come, they always have to poop right away because it is, whether it's an excitement, a stress or arousal thing. But, I'm sure if we talk to people, some people have the same issues.
Yeah.
The same issues as well.
Yeah. And I think along with that too, I think it's embarrassing for people because they think it's directed at them. So they're going, okay, my dog peed, at the door after I left because they were mad at me, and they're just seeing it maybe through the wrong lens. And they're going, okay, this is something that my dog is doing to me and I need to be embarrassed about it, as opposed to, my dog is distressed and they're, this is how they're functioning and this is how they're.
Yeah. A lot of times though, it's not done out of spite. I think it's people that give dogs that quality that they do things out of spite. And I think there's honestly more to it. Exactly like you're saying, whether it's anxiety. The other thing, there's a few times where, people would say the dog would go out to the washroom. We were talking about house training the other day, dog go out to the washroom, come back in and pee. Well, are they doing that out of spite? More than likely, they haven't emptied their bladder because they get distracted. So then it's happening in the house. So don't just think right away of these different qualities. And a lot of times people are giving these qualities to dogs and they don't necessarily exhibit those qualities. I think definitely spite isn't one of them.
Yeah.
For sure. But then what we can do is then lead into, and it was interesting because I did comment on it in Walking in Recall or Walking in Greeting where the dog was kicking after it peed.
Yes.
And they're like, oh my gosh, you're digging up the grass. Oh, Alfie was actually kicking dirt at one of the dogs. And the reason they do that is their scent glands in their feet. So what they're doing is continuing to spread their scent in that area. So, and then honestly, as soon as I told the client this, they're like, oh, okay, really?
Yeah. And I think like, especially for like if they've peed and then they're kicking after, shout out to Siobhan because Spud does this to me all the time. He fully kicks, like he kicks dirt up at my face. He kicks it in my dog's faces, and Siobhan is always embarrassed, but it's a natural behavior. Like I don't think he's doing it to me by any means. You know, I think it's just, oh, here's my scent, I'm going to spread it around. Yeah. And so again, I think it's one of those things that they're not necessarily doing it to you. It's a product of who they are as domestic dogs.
I think it's also realizing that they're not little humans.
Yes.
They're still dogs, still have dog-like qualities, and it is natural for them to want to spread the scent, hence males peeing everywhere and sort of kicking afterwards. So, you know, you can de-emphasize it by getting the dog to move quickly around, but you know what, if it's not hurting anything, not a big deal.
That's true. Another one that came up tons that we all love to address is eating poop. So when we talk about it under the umbrella of inappropriate elimination, is it necessarily inappropriate? No. But I know I'll let you answer as to why, because I always get asked the question, are they deficient in something? Are they doing it because, you know, they hate me and they're, you know, they want to like breathe poop at me or something? Like it just becomes this thing where people get so embarrassed about it and they want to understand why. So what is your go-to with that, where people say, oh, why is my dog eating poop?
Right. I think the main thing in curbing it is ideally don't allow them access to it. But the way I look at it is if you have a really good mom dog, right? So with her pups, she cleans them up, right? So, and when they're 2-3 weeks old, 1-2-3 weeks old, they need to, mom needs to lick and clean them to stimulate them to go to the bathroom. So she keeps the box very clean. I think the other thing as well is if you have, if the breeder or the area is kept very clean, then mom doesn't have to eat so much of, say, the poop to keep it clean as well. So it's a dual thing there, but she naturally wants to keep it clean and the puppies see her eating it, which is why I say sometimes it's out of boredom because there's nothing else to do in the backyard. So if you give them something else to do, I've talked to different clients myself. When I had Mabel, this was like 8-10 years ago. She was the first dog that I had that did eat poop. And I, you know, was the crazy person chasing her away from it. But it was the same idea. You know, people say, okay, put tartar sauce on it or put lemon juice on it. So there we are sneaking around putting stuff. Half the time the dogs don't really care. Yeah. There's this other powder you can sprinkle on their food. So when they eat their food, it makes their poop taste different or worse.
I did try that with Molly and it never worked.
No, it never worked. It never worked. So honestly, the best advice I have is clean it up. Don't allow access. And then we get into another one, which again, it's going to be the same protocol is if they're not eating their own poop, why are they eating other dogs' poop? Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's some value, whether it smells good or I think it's misconception. Yeah, I know. I think it's a misconception, though, that they're lacking nutrients or they're extra hungry. I think it's just something they're scavenging or they're bored. But like, again, if you redirect to it, like I joke a little bit, my dogs like to eat deer poop, the little nuggets.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just something they find valuable and worth doing. So again, it's just about redirecting, I would say. As long as they're not eating an excess amount, it's okay because, again, we've all been there, done that, or maybe they happen to now toot or burp or
the worst is in the winter. the poopsicles,
Poopsicles,
as I
yes.
call them, the frozen poops. Please don't bring them in the house. Please don't try to play with them in the yard. As long as we're not doing any of that, I just clean up after them and we live our life.
Yeah.
I think one more thing in this sort of topic of elimination. Last thing we got was a lot of people said that their dogs were butt scooting when people were over, or butt scooting across the lawn.
Yes. And don't they love to leave like a little streak on the carpet? Dogs have anal glands. So, and I think the majority of people have heard about them. They're two little glands that are inside the anus. And I know, technical. People don't have them. But what happens is ideally they empty when the dog poops.
Yeah.
Right. So we could sit here and talk all about, how poop can be different sizes. Not going to again get into that, but yeah. Okay. If those glands aren't being expressed very well, or if they are, there might just be, a little itch, a little something going on. Again, the dogs don't know any better. They're dealing in the moment with the issue. The butt's itchy, you itch their butt.
Yeah.
All I would say is if it's happening frequently, might be something that you want to take a little look at.
Yeah.
Or address.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think it's out of spite. I think at that moment in time, their butt is itchy.
Yeah. And I mean, people also laugh at it, right? So maybe it's being reinforced somehow. We don't know, but I would think that you're right. Most of the time, it's just they're itchy. They're doing what's natural. And, same with the licking and all that stuff that, all these things that people get embarrassed about. So,
well, yeah, they're used to taking care of themselves. So maybe we can add a little bit in on that inappropriate. We think it's inappropriate licking.
Yeah.
But again, the dogs don't know any different. You're there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have the opportunity. You need to keep clean. You're a little bit bored, or, cats groom, and we don't really seem to have a comment on that. And they're quite a bit groomers, where I think ideally we groom our dogs more, depending upon the breed. But, again, they're going to do what they feel like doing in the moment. Dogs don't, I don't want to say have, they're not going to sit there and evaluate the situation and say, oh, there's people watching me. They don't care.
No.
They don't have the embarrassment factor.
They don't feel embarrassed.
No.
We feel embarrassed. So that's the whole thing with things that your dog does that are embarrassing is that we're talking about like for us. We're not talking about for the dog.
Yeah.
Another big one with getting away from the elimination topic, but still on the topic a little bit, is sniffing butts. So whether it's a dog or a person, a couple of the responses that I got were like, whenever my dog greets a person, they just shove their nose in that person's crotch. So let's talk a little bit about why they might do that.
I would say, again, very natural, because how do dogs introduce themselves to each other calmly?
Yeah, if they have good social skills, right? They will sniff each other's butt.
And that's why they go into that weird circling behavior, right? Because ideally you want nose to bum and nose to bum rather than face to face.
Yes. And I tell people that in classes all the time when they go, oh, don't do that. That's so rude. Or, oh, don't sniff his bum. Ew. And I'm like, no, that is a polite greeting. You want to encourage that. You don't want your dog running up and going face to face with strange dogs. That's not polite.
It's confrontational.
Yeah.
Right. There's going to be more of an issue. So, the little joke in reactive classes, we have butt sniffing day. Yeah, we do. So it's just encouraging the dogs or re-showing them how to do something in a calm manner, that it doesn't have to be stressful. So again, what the dogs do is they take that behavior and then apply it to people. Yeah. So if they naturally sniff that way, then they're going to do that to a person. And then I guess my joke is a little bit, then, we're on 2 feet, they're on 4. So the thing is, teach them a different behavior.
Yeah. And also I think when it comes to the sniffing butts, if you think about the way that dogs interact with the world, like we would say verbally, hello, just say hi to a person, or we would give a hug, or we would shake hands or something like that. They don't have all that many ways to do it. So usually what they would do is they would get their information through that scent, right? So they're communicating with each other.
Yeah.
And dogs actually have a gland, I can't remember what it's called right now, but in the top of their mouths for intaking pheromones and getting information from other animals that way. So that's why also they would sniff pee or they would sniff poo or something else that, so they go into sniffing butts and they're taking in information. So it's not just that they're doing it to be yucky, right?
No, it's natural. And like you said, exactly. They're gaining information. Like you can see when you first go outside sometimes, especially with fall now, they just go out and you can see their little nose going.
Yeah.
Because they're taking in that information. And I think so many people forget that they have such an advanced sense of smell in comparison to people.
Yeah.
Because I usually say they don't even necessarily have to sniff the dog or person. They've already figured out male, female, spayed, neutered, what they had for breakfast. Like,
yep, they certainly do. And with a reactive dog, you learn that pretty fast. They can tell who's male or female from a distance. I know that, having a dog who is reactive to other males. So, but I think in that sort of same vein is the other one that came up was rolling in things. So talking about getting information from other animals.
Yeah. And I think it's about wanting, they like different smells. Like we like them to smell clean, like shampoo. Yeah, they don't like that. They don't necessarily want to do that. My joke a little bit is I got like 3 rollers for sure. Frolic, Tulip, and Alfie.
Yeah.
And you see them sniffing something, then all of a sudden the head goes down and they're just going. The question is why? Well, to them, it obviously smells good and they feel the need to coat themselves with it. In my world, it's not ideal. I don't want to touch them afterwards. We have to go back in and have bath time, but it's very natural for them. So, it's about, I don't know if necessarily it's about training the behavior as soon as they start sniffing. I try recall. Yeah. Right. And I have to say the leave it cue is starting to kick in a little bit better, but sometimes you let dogs be dogs and you just, give them a bath, you accept it and then, move on from there. But, again, we have to take, I don't want to say the good and the bad, but the quirkiness, there you go, of the dog. And remember, they're dogs. They do different things. They enjoy different things.
Yeah. And I think their idea or their value of what is a good smell is very different from ours.
Yes.
Right? So to them, that's amazing. That would be like us spraying ourselves in perfume or something.
Yeah. And have you ever let dogs smell perfume? No. Alfie, I let them smell it sometimes and they're just like, oh my gosh, that's disgusting.
Very good.
No, like different smells that we find that we're fine. I would say rewarding, but that we enjoy. Sometimes they don't.
We find them pleasant and
pleasant. Yes.
Unpleasant.
Yeah.
Switching gears a little bit, the fun one that everybody loves. Yes. We'll finish off a little bit with humping, mounting, whatever you want to call it. So this one comes up a lot, and I find usually people are super embarrassed about it, whether they're mounting another dog, whether they're mounting an object like a pillow or their bed or something like that, or maybe a person's leg, or any number of things.
A lot of times it comes up in classes.
Yes.
Right.
So play, right? Yeah. Play is a big reason why it would happen.
Yeah.
I find usually most people will go, okay, my dog is mounting, another dog, they're being dominant over them. And that's just not the case, which is we'll do an episode on the dominance theory and all that stuff, but it's not that. It's most of the time going to be, if you have a dog playing with another dog, that they're maybe a little bit awkward, that they may be feeling a little left out. Whenever I have 3 dogs playing,
I was just going to say the 3.
One of them has to come in and they're trying to get attention, right? Yeah. They're trying to get involved in that.
Because dogs usually play in 2s.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's also, so when they're playing, they are practicing different behaviors, right? They're practicing growling, they're practicing biting, they're practicing chasing. They're practicing for making puppies. I've heard that theory as well.
Yeah, have you heard that theory?
Yeah, that they're practicing. So there's ritualized aggression, right? Ritualized aggression where they're fake fighting or play fighting.
Yes.
And then there's also mounting involved in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
but nobody would say that with the mounting. I remember I was trying to find my notes on that. I think you sent me that article on mounting because years ago when I did an APDT seminar, Kathy Sadeo did a seminar. It was an hour and a half, and she talked about the different types of mounting, and she had 12
Okay.
She had 12 different types. She had amazing video footage
Maybe
because,
we can find that and put it in.
yeah, you know what? I tried.
Okay.
I tried to find it on several occasions because honestly, I find I talk about mounting at least once a session of classes to try to encourage people or explain to people that they don't need to be embarrassed, that it's just part of the behavior, and try to explain why they're doing it. But anyway, she had amazing video footage because she got it from a daycare facility in Texas that had 60 some old dogs.
Wow.
I think the reason why I really go after it as far as because people, as soon as they see mounting, they either use the dominance word.
Yeah.
Or they use the sexual word. And yeah, sometimes they're trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
But there's so much more to it. So I think going to the dominance word is so misleading.
Yeah.
Then they worry that their dog's aggressive and then other things happen. Like she actually had a video of dominance mounting and it was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Because the dog on top is attacking the dog below, and that
which at that point isn't even mounting, right?
It's like being on top and attacking and being aggressive to the dog underneath. So and usually you're seeing none of that.
Yeah.
So I think it's a trial and error. The dogs, like yes, I agree with you, are trying to get another dog's attention, or they're trying to see what they can get away with. A lot of time, young adolescent males.
Yeah.
Yes, they are coming into sexual maturity sometimes, but I think it's just a matter of people reading it and learning how to redirect it.
Yes. If the other dog is not enjoying it, right, then you move them. If they're doing it back and forth to each other, then maybe you let it go, right? If, there's no intent, we don't want to get into all that.
Right.
But same thing with people, like, oh, what do I do when he's mounting someone's leg? Like if, obviously the person probably doesn't love it.
No.
Gently remove them or ask them to do something else. It doesn't mean they're trying to dominate that person. It could mean that they're stressed about that person.
Yeah.
It could mean that they're trying to engage with that person for attention or for play or something.
Which
like that.
and aren't quite efficient at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're right.
Awkward,
and they're conflicted and they're, they have feelings that are attached to why they're doing it. Or, maybe it's just something simple like you laughed at it last time and they
and which we forget about because again, we are approached about a lot of different behaviors, these ones in particular, that at first it's funny.
Yeah.
And it is being rewarded somehow. Right? Because dogs will continue to do things that are rewarded. And then all of a sudden we decide it's an issue.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden the dog's like, well, you've been laughing or I've been getting rewarded for it. And then all of a sudden I'm not.
Yeah.
So we sort of got to watch that a little bit as far as a fine line. But I think a lot of times, accepting the behavior is occurring, but the best thing to do is redirecting. Understand it's a dog and understand there's other ways and whys of why they're doing it.
And I think the last part of that we got a few comments on was mounting objects. So he has a special toy or a special pillow or a bed or whatever that they like. And whenever I get asked about that, I just say, is it hurting anybody? Like,
I guess the way, I look at it is it's an outlet. Yeah. If they need an outlet, I would rather them hump their bed or toy and not a person or other dog. Yeah. So if they need to give it hugs, well, what are you going to do?
Most of the things we find embarrassing are just natural dog behaviors. We invited dogs to live in our homes, so we do need to take some responsibility for that and accept them and love them for their weird little quirks, like you said. Yeah. I think a lot of them are things that if we don't like them, we can either provide an outlet, redirect, teach an alternate behavior, something like that. But overall, try to just be understanding and love our quirky little
yes, exactly.
Anything else to add? Or
I think that is a little bit of food for thought.
Yeah, there we go. Fun little episode. Okay.
Yes.
So we'll end off episode 5 there and make sure you tune in for the next one.